Well, welcome aboard. We are really pleased to have you folks here. And I just want to preface my comments with our hope is that this is the start of a conversation, and that subsequent to this session, we can get together and learn about your challenges, your companies, and those things that you folks face. So for today, we'll tell you a lot about us and what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. But again, we're looking forward to getting with you folks. Now, this session will be recorded. So if some of you have an aversion, or like they say, a face for radio, do let us know, and we can send you the recording later. Now, if you don't have an aversion to that, we're just going to get going here. So I've been in the health and safety business in and out for a few years. Now, I just colored my beard, of course, to make it look like I'm older. But anyways, so we have a lot of fun in health and safety, and we help companies, as I mentioned earlier in my little preface, to establish best practices, and in some cases, very old SOPs, old standard operating procedures that are built around paper, pencil, and manual processes. So that's what I've been doing. So I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca, who will introduce herself as a subject matter specialist and the developer of Zendelity. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Perfect. Thanks, Richard. So Rebecca Wormley, I am the co-founder and COO of Zendelity. So I want to say thank you very much for joining us today. I've been in the enterprise B2B space for over 25 years, had the opportunity to work around lots of different technologies from communications and analytics. And really over the last 6 years, I have spent my time learning all about facilities, operations, health and safety, and trying to understand the challenges that organizations face, and really taking a step back to look at what can we do to help people keep our operations safe, to reduce risk, to make sure that everything that's needed to be done to keep us safe is. So that's kind of that's what I've spent the last 6 years really researching and studying. So hopefully today I can impart a little of what I've learned. And I would, of course, love to hear your feedback as we're going through today's session.
All right, so we're going to have 3 sessions. This is the first one. What we're hoping is that we impress you sufficiently that you want to join us again with the next 2 episodes, if you will. And that maybe you'll invite some of your peers or other people that you think would benefit from these sort of information sessions built around health, safety, security, building maintenance, and so on.
Sure. Oops. All right, there you go.
So today's agenda is pretty simple. Just to rattle through it. Well, first of all, how confident are you in your safety protocols? Is that a question that you've thought about a lot, or do people question you on it? But why, and what are safety protocols and SOPs, and why are they important? Well, we're going to get to that in a moment. Why do we need to be true? What do we need to be truly confident? We need information. Business is data, and data is business, and the fresher the data, then the more relevant that information or data is. We're going to explore the potential of real-time data. Just like the weatherman, of course, the weatherman's wrong sometimes, but if you want, they're always updating, and that's what our system does. It keeps you fresh, up to date with, rather, as opposed to the weatherman, accurate data, if you will. Then Rebecca will talk about Carleton University. We'll have a live demo, and then we'll do a Q&A.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and get started then. So
what if? What if, just imagine, I love that question. What if you knew in real time when issues of non-compliance were identified, instead of having to go to a binder or asking Billy Bob if he has done something, or asking Sarah if she has been to see a particular piece of equipment? What if you could see in real time exactly what the procedures have and that are complete? What if you were 100% confident that everyone was doing the right thing, the right way, at the right time, and you didn't have to search, you could just see it on your screen? What if people didn't have to spend time filling reports, running after data? What would that be like? What if when regulators arrive, or heaven help you if there's an accident and the litigators come, commonly called lawyers, that you don't have to run around trying to get some information and to answer the questions, that you could just click on a button and say, here you go, Mr. Litigator, here is the data, here's what we have, and it's up to date and it's in real time. Rebecca, did you want to add to this?
Well, no, not this is really the premise when we started on our journey. These were the questions that we began asking ourselves. What if we could do this? What would it mean to our safety? What would it mean to our ability to react? Could we go from being reactive to becoming proactive? And we believe the answer is yes. So we actually designed Command Center to do exactly that, to answer those what ifs, to give you the data. And we do that quite simply by making sure the right people are in the right place at the right time, that they're following the right safety checks, standard operating procedures that are required in order to keep us all safe as we use and rely on that facility, and making sure that those safety checks, the results of those standard operating procedures are being evaluated based on the right requirements, and that they're taking immediate action so that we can make change. And we do all of that in real time. And by changing our approach and not relying on in audits, if you will, in order to identify our risks areas, by changing that perspective, we can help organizations reduce their risk. We can help them optimize their resources. We know a lot of time is lost from an operational perspective in, completing reports, filling out forms, collecting the data that's required. So let's improve that efficiency. Let's give back that time to individuals so they can add more value. And then ultimately, by changing that approach, we believe organizations can really help protect their investment in that facility, in that equipment, by making sure that, again, everything that needs to be done is done in order to optimize and reduce risk.
I'd like to add something to that, Rebecca.
Please.
Yeah, so when you think about turnover, and it's really the bugaboo these days, people are quitting, retiring, let's face it, moving on, and new people are coming in to perform what is really important tasks. And so all of this just makes onboarding, if you will, and hiring new people much more of a accurate, of a successful endeavor, if you will. Because armed with a simple device, those new people will have clear instructions. They'll know where to go, when to go, how to do it, what to look for. And so that really is a driver for a lot of our customers to help with that turnover and onboarding, and making sure these important processes are in fact followed the way they should be, with a best practice mentality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I hear about it. In fact, we were just talking with a client right before this call, and they're telling me that head of the health and safety, he had 5 supervisors over the course of the last, 10 years of his tenure. And, what that actually means to his teams and to, to his ability to execute successfully. So absolutely. Very good point. So before we kind of jump into what's required to be confident, I wanted to kind of take a step back to say what is distinct or unique about what we're doing. And I'm sure, Richard, you'll elaborate and add on this, but I think that there's 3 key things that as we go through today's discussion, both looking at, what do we require to be confident that everything's being done, and then looking at, the alternatives and the various solutions. But what we hope to demonstrate to you today is that our approach will enable you to have complete confidence in your safety, because we provide a complete audit trail of everything that has been done against your safety checks. We provide you with audit-proof data so you can see exactly who did what and when. It's time-stamped, it's location-specific. So it provides you everything that you need to truly go home at the end of the day and be confident that everything has been completed. We also give you what we believe is distinct is that real-time control, right? So real-time control or live visibility into what's actually going on here and now across your facility. We see a lot of organizations that are relying on SharePoint drives or whatever in order to collect and maintain our health and safety data. but we have no real-time visibility as to what's going on here and now. We've got to sort through the data. We've got to find the issues. We've got to address them. And then, we believe that our solution, what we're going to show you, will enable you to provide complete transparency to all of your stakeholders as to exactly what is required to actually be confident of compliance, so that you can show the data. So as Richard said, when the regulators or, the budget authority or whomever is coming knocking at your door saying, what are we doing and what's it costing us to do it, we can pull out actionable, concrete data that we know played a role. Richard?
Yeah, so it's funny when we're sitting here, we just talked to Craig a moment ago, it's his 4th webinar today. So you can imagine all the data he's trying to remember. So I like to use the term the point. So the point is, because we're going to cover a lot of stuff, if you will, the point is confidence comes from competence. And our system is extremely competent, simple to use, and easy to administer. So the bottom line is, you don't have to remember everything we say. We would like to be able to, again, speak more directly with you at the conclusion or next week, whenever, and really go through it and regarding your company, regarding your challenges, and show you how our system of competence drives and creates confidence. I think that's really the objective of a webinar, right? Is you coming to learn and then to apply whatever it is you've learned.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, you had a question? Hopefully, I don't know if you can unmute yourself. If you can't, let me know. Oh,
I don't know if it's going to pick up.
Nick's. Oh, there is that you, Nick?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's basically the question, right? So if I'm the end user and I'm looking at this real-time monitoring, and I'm sure we'll see this in the demo, but how would you describe that I'm able to extrapolate those insights without being a data expert? Because I know some of our GMs, assistant directors, a lot of the program administrators on sites will likely not be data experts.
I think that's the beautiful thing about this. I don't think you need to be a data expert and to understand the data. It's the information that is displaying is this is what we needed to do. This is what our business required us to operate under, but whether it be best practices, safety protocols, whatever. And it's going to show exactly who did what when, so that you can have an immediate understanding.
Excellent.
Can I want to add to that, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so a real strong feature is the fact you can have notifications going to whoever should be notified. So you mentioned that stream of people that are, might not be that competent with screens, if you will, but if they need to know or should know of a situation or a danger or a hazard, automatic notifications can go out. So that one of my favorite sayings is there's no defense for not knowing what is knowable. So to answer your question, so if they are getting an update, and by the way, you tailor that. So they're not being told when someone comes in or, has a sandwich. They're notified when something important has been discovered or there's a real-time issue, a fire extinguisher is not in position. Why is that? That sort of thing. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Thank you very much. It's perfect sense.
Thanks for the question, Nick. And I would encourage any and all questions as we're going. We're a small group, so let's keep this interactive. So Richard, I think this one you were gonna.
Well, I love this one. Of course, I love all these slides. That's what happens when you own them, right? I mean, we co-created these, but there are two kinds of companies. Ones that have had a physical safety incident. And hopefully you agree that accidents are not accidents, they're incidents. There's not a whole lot of accidents in the world. They're all incidents where somebody didn't do, didn't know, didn't try, didn't check. You know what I mean? They're all incidents. So two kinds of companies, ones that have had incidents and they learned or didn't, and the ones that will have. Every company will have some events. They will have some slip and falls. They will have some, falls from heights. Who knows? However, the difference is that if you have trained those people, if all the checks and balances are in place, when people tap the tag, you can tell who is qualified to do a particular task. And if they're not, boom, a warning goes out to a supervisor saying, hey, this person's going to do something they're not qualified for. The point is, if you have these systems in place, having accidents or incidents, as I prefer, are greatly reduced, but you can't idiot-proof life, as you know. So there'll always be some incidents.
Absolutely. And I think, so that's really, what's in the meat of why we invited everyone today, is really starting to step back and look at that question. Are we confident with our safety checks? Because, as Richard has said, an incident is going to happen at some point. The question, what we need to ask ourselves is, when we go home at the end of the day, are we confident that everything within our power to be done has been done and we know about it? Because there's nothing worse than that surprise, oops, it wasn't looked at and wasn't done. So,
So there's a whole bunch of stuff on this screen, so please don't read it all. But I'll bring your eyes, if you don't mind, to the top right. I had mentioned AEDs earlier. Well, when was the last time it was checked? So let's just say that somebody has a physical issue and they fall to the floor, and some good intentioned person runs to the AED box, if you will, and it's not there. Or if it's there, it's not charged. And if there's pieces missing or it's broken and the person dies. Now, I hate to be that dramatic, but you can imagine the questions that arise, boom, right away. Someone's going to answer a lot of questions. The point is, we help to identify these things are checked. And on the checklist, and to bring back the point about understanding the simplicity of the system, if there are 3 things to check, they are identified, 1, 2, 3. The person checking checks that, yes, I checked the hose, I checked the plug-in, I checked the whatever, and validates if something's missing or broken or not there or whatever. They also make a note. And again, because it is an AED, that can be sent as a notification to a supervisor, to the health and safety guy, to somebody, if you want that information sent forward. Let me know if that makes sense.
no, I think it makes complete sense. And I think that the thing that we have to remember is, safety protocols or standard operating procedures, there are aplenty. There is no end to the possibilities for accidents to happen or incidents to happen, and for something to kind of go wrong. And I think what's really important for organizations, it wasn't long ago, before the advent of, social media and the like, that was easy to sweep a safety incident under the carpet, right? Well, I think in today's day and age, we can, hopefully all agree. In fact, I love this, due to social inflations, jury awards are now, 10 million plus. Whereas prior to social, right, they were lower. And why is that? Because people are talking. I think the other big challenge or big consideration that people should, keep in mind as they think about your safety checks, and this for me is so profound. It used to be back in the day that we could hide behind corporate. If something went wrong, corporate was responsible, but that ship has sailed. We are now, as individuals, held personally liable. If we can see that something's wrong, if we can see that something should have been done, what is your statement again, Richard? There is
no defense for not knowing what is knowable.
Exactly, right? So our world is dramatically changing, and we're seeing it all over the place. I've done a lot of research over the impact of this on commercial real estate, as an example. Commercial insurance, sorry. And you see it all the time, where you've got if you're considered a low risk property, maybe you're seeing an increase to your premiums of 3%. But if you're considered a high risk property, you're seeing premium increases of upwards of 15%. That's a significant difference to our bottom line in our cost to operate the business. So, and why is that happening? Why are we high risk? Well, because our safety checks weren't done, because incidents are happening, and we're needing to rely upon our insurance. So the more that we can be confident of our safety checks, the more that we can reduce our risks, and the more that we can decrease those unanticipated expenses, whether it's $60,000 because somebody slipped and fall, or the cost to rebuild your property that is, increasing year over year based on external economic factors, right? All of these things are driving and saying, well, doing things one way might have been okay in the past, but today I can't rely on a simple audit to know if I'm protected. I need to know every day. because the impact to me and my business, it could shut my doors, right? So it's interesting to see how this is, it might have one day be considered a nice to have, but as we progress in today's environment, in today's world, it's becoming truly a must have. We must be confident of our safety protocols, because if we're not, it could shut our business down. And then what happens?
I have one short story to add to that, Rebecca. In Sudbury, there was a miner that was killed. There was an initial settlement. Well, guess what? The widow came back and the Ministry of Labor is being sued. First time the Ministry of Labor is being sued in that way because of the death of a miner, the mining company, the foreman, the supervisor. This, yeah, I'm not laughing because it's funny, but everybody's been dragged through the mud. Could it have been prevented? Of course. Most things can be prevented. It wasn't. But when you're dragging the Ministry of Labor into Rebecca's point, at this point, everybody's a target. And it's the way we are today.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you saw during COVID, there was doctors in long-term care facilities that were being held personally liable because safety protocols weren't being followed. So our world is changing, and we need to adapt and go along with it. Richard?
And I've talked about it earlier, but you have to remember that it's like a training session, right? If you hear something once, well, you might remember it. If you hear it a few times, you're more likely to remember it. So I'm going to repeat one thing and the question is, are your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, fresh? If you've been there for 2 years where you're working and the SOPs were written 10 years ago, for argument's sake, do they reflect best practices? So with changing technology and changing work habits, if you will, contractors, new employees, part-time employees, I mean, holy cow. And as it says here, thousands of pieces of equipment in some companies, depending how many buildings you have, of course. All kinds of operating procedures, all written in a binder that someone has to read. All kinds of departments that demand all kinds of things to be done. Why not just have all of that come specifically to the particular operation in real time and to be able to update? So now you are working today, oops, and something happens and you change the protocol, you change the SOP. And so the next day, the person comes back to do the same job they did the day before. And guess what? The procedure has changed. So in real time, you can update your SOPs, what I call best practices, to make them best practices based on today, based on this moment. I think there's high value in that.
Well, I think what's at the end of the day, when we talk about our safety checks, it's never just one department that is playing a role. To truly be confident and to go home at the end of the day that all safety checks, you've truly got to have visibility across all the departments, whether it's food and beverage and the temperatures of your kitchen, whether it's, what's going on in your assembly line, whether it's, what's going on in maintenance and the like, right? Safety checks, safety responsibilities is not the job of a single individual, but it is the responsibility. It is the culture that we create that makes for a safe environment.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
So here's the question again, a little repetition, but are you a little less confident now based on what we're showing you? In other words, prior to coming to this session, you thought, well, okay, we got things squared away. I'll go watch this seminar, this webinar, but we're hoping that you're seeing some cracks because we want to help you fill the cracks. So if you're 100% confident now, good. We could make you maybe 101% or make it easier or make it less obtrusive. You know what I mean? Get rid of paper. We can help automate, if you will. And I just got to say, when I said the word automate, it makes me think of how today, unlike a few years ago, people won't do things that are boring or they won't do them well. People rebel against old ways of doing things. So even though you might be 100% confident, if you can make the job more interesting, quicker, easier, better, then that's part of what we're talking about. So we can improve your sense of confidence with our competent system, if you will.
Yeah. And I think there's 4 questions to truly assess where we are from a confidence perspective. I think that there's 4 key questions that we as individuals need to ask ourselves to get an accurate reflection of kind of where we are and what risks are. So the first one being is, you know, when the regulators arrive, when management comes, when somebody's trying to understand something, the question, will you be able to find the data? I love to use this example of the slip and fall. We as a business you're legally liable for a slip and fall for up to 2 years. In order to defend a slip and fall, we've got to show that everything sand and gravel, it was shoveled, it was properly maintained, et cetera, et cetera. Excuse me. For most individuals today, they track that information in a binder that's kept by each door that somebody fills out when they go and do their slip and fall. The challenge is, you know, in 18 months from now, when Johnny calls and their lawyer calls and says, you know, Johnny fell 18 months ago, and, you know, you're now liable for that slip and fall, what is the first thing the lawyers are going to do? But they're going to go look for that binder. And they're going to flip back to 18 months ago, and they're going to hope, fingers crossed, that they at least have some data that shows that it was shoveled, when it was shoveled, what the current weather was, all of those things, right? But if that data is not there, if they can't show that information, you might as well take out the $60,000 that is the average claim of a slip and fall and hand it over. So first, we want to ask ourselves, for any of our safety checks, we do them to minimize our liability, to make sure everyone's fine. So ask yourself, for anything, will I be able to find the data? Will it be complete when I get there? The second thing we want to ask ourselves is, when we look at that data, can we trust the data? I think this is a fantastic example. Is this a 20 or a 26? You know, in certain situations when we're doing our safety checks, the difference between a 20 and a 26 could be indicated of severe health issues. I love to use the example of a pool. You know, is your chlorine, I'm going to mess it up, the number 7.1, 7.2 to 7.6, right? You've got a decimal point difference of where someone could actually get sick. So the numbers matter. The results of those numbers are really, really important. And then we also want to ask ourselves, how current is the data? So we see a lot of customers who are relying on paper checklists and logbooks in order to track that, right? So if we go through and actually look at that and step back and understand what it means, right? So an issues that it identified, we'll use, I'm going to talk more about Carleton University, but they've inspected a fire extinguisher on day 1. They've reported that there's no pressure in the green. That information is filled out in the checklist. It's handed into management at the end of the day. Somebody goes through those sheets. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's a week from now, whenever they're going to go through. And then they've identified, okay, the pressure is not in the green for fire extinguisher 1, 2, 3 in this building. Well, now I've got to take action. You know, and maybe in this case, it's just replacing the fire extinguisher. Maybe in other cases, it's we got to call people, but it can go from weeks to go from issue identification when we rely on paper and logbooks to potentially weeks before we're actually in a position where we're taking action, if at all, in some cases. I can't tell you how often, you know, one of the initial complaints that we had when we were working with Carleton from, you know, pre-implementation was, they would report the same issues month after month after month, right? So you're exposed. As an operation, you're at risk. And at any one of those points through that process, you're risking downtime of services, your equipment getting worse, legal or safety incidents having to make an immediate expensive repairs. Now, there is some organizations that have invested in spreadsheets, or they've got digital forms shared on SharePoint and the like. And absolutely, the process is going to get better because it's in a digital format. You know, we were talking to, again, going back to a mining company, you know, in the old way, they would identify the issue in the morning. The paper would be handed in at the end of shift, and it was the next day before the red flag was raised, right? So they were really happy because they had moved to a SharePoint drive. So day 1, it went from, you know, issue being reported to a matter of you know, half an hour, so that they could take action. But there was still a gap in that time And you had to make sure that using these manual devices that we could actually find and identify the issue. In their case, they had probably hundreds of SharePoint drives, each defined on different equipment, different operations, that someone had to manually go in, open, look through, comb through, find the information before we could raise that red flag, right? So the understanding that between those points, we're exposed in an operation, and our goal is to really reduce that, to give you that
Right.
data in real time so that you can take immediate corrective action.
Right.
And then the final thing that I think we have to ask ourselves to truly assess whether or not we're confident in our safety protocols is, really, does everybody understand what is required? You know, from an industry perspective, turnover, especially front of the lines, we're seeing an incredible amount of turnover. You know, we talked about at that last customer call we were just talking about, he had 5 supervisors in a course of 10 years. That's a lot of transitioning. That's a lot of potential for lost data, for people to make mistakes, to people not understand. I was talking today, and we were talking about when people leave and transition, especially when you think of running your facility. If you had an employee, they've been there for 10 years, they know how that building operates. They know how it ticks, what is everything that needs to be done, that to open a particular door, to complete the safety check, we need to wiggle the key 3 times, you know, a little bit to the right. All of those things are data that are in the heads of our employees that keep our facilities running smooth. Yet we stand to potentially lose when those individuals walk out the door and their replacement comes and we hand them a piece of paper that says, here are your standard operating procedures that I need you to complete. You know, now we've got that individual has to go back and to learn all that and to really start from the
Right.
ground up. So what, those are the four things that we think everyone should ask themselves. So now coming back to Richard's question, if we actually step back and look at our safety checks, look at our procedures that we've put in place, you know, can you find the data if you need it? How long will it take you to find the data? Can you trust the data? And does everybody understand it? So I would encourage everyone to ask themselves, you know, put on that hat and actually step back and look at their situations. If you're at 100% and fantastic, but you know, for many, I don't think that's the case when you truly go back and really dig into these elements. Richard, do you have anything to add?
Nope, nope. I'm just looking for the next one because I'm not seeing the progression. Oh, Carlton, here we go.
There we go.
It's
So,
all you, Rebecca.
thank you. So, you know, we invited you here today to talk about the importance of safety checks and why we hope we've shared with you why we believe that the current methodologies, why relying on audits, for example, to find and track this information is really exposing us to risk. So we actually started working with Carleton University on this idea back in 2021. They have been using us in order to facilitate their safety checks. They started with their fire extinguishers. They've got 2,500 fire extinguishers across their campus that were being maintained by a single individual who went through month after month. That's what they did. That was their job. But they had no visibility as to were they all completed. You know, the way the process worked is Nancy was her name. She went around, she completed her checks, she handed in her papers whenever they happened to be done. Somebody transcribed them. So there was repeat issues all the time. Again, repeat issues that were happening month over month. They didn't know where all their fire extinguishers were. In fact, they're still finding new ones that they've, you know, invested in and you know, they weren't aware of. So using our system, Chad will, you know, he says his words, right? I can go home at the end of the day confident in compliance. And what is really interesting about Chad is, you know, he was once a fireman, then he was a fire inspector, and now he's in the business of fire prevention. So you can imagine for him, he's got a deep understanding of the implications of, you know, when an accident happens, something doesn't get understood and what it can mean. So he now goes home confident that of compliance. He's been able to save a tremendous amount of time and resources in maintaining compliance because he's got that real-time visibility as to everything that has been done for his check. So he can see exactly where his gaps are where he needs to focus his attention so he can manage by exception versus having to go and look at everything in order to verify. And then finally, you know, the value that he has seen in this, in changing his approach, is that he's able to do much more accurate budgeting and planning. He's got better visibility of his equipment. He understands exactly where it is and what is happening with it, so that you know, he can spend his dollars more wisely. So Chad has been a fantastic individual to work with. So what is Command Center? So in essence, before we jump into the demo, I just wanted to kind of do a quick level set. So Command Center, our solution, really, again, our goal is to make sure the right person is in the right place at the right time, right? So how do we do that? Well, we leverage a mobile application so that we can guide our workers through exactly what are those safety checks that need to be done? What specific information are we looking for? This isn't about yes, no answers. This is about what are the specifics. We leverage smart tags or near field communications in order to directly associate our safety checks with the specific assets or locations that are in question that we need to measure and manage against. I will take an opportunity to say, you know, there is other technology that you might have seen out there today that's using, for example, QR or barcodes. I think what's really important to understand, and we saw this with some early generations of this technology and early customers, and that they were using QR codes. Well, I can take a photograph of a QR code and I can sit at my desk and pretend that I was at that location. So you're not getting that confidence of compliance because we still can't confirm that the person was physically, you know, in the case of Chad, in front of that fire extinguisher doing that work. And then finally, we leverage a management portal so that you can see in real time exactly what's going on, so you can manage your operating procedures, a single repository for maintaining version control of exactly what's required and pushing that information out to your team and to your resources as you go. Do you have anything to share on that, add to that, Richard?
No, I think if you really consider all that we've said, and if you were to wrap it up, it's confidence based on competence. We have lots of examples. It's communication in real time that you don't have to search for. It's notifications going out to those people that should know, need to know, if you will. It's keeping up with best practices in real time, such that in simply going to your computer and updating things from one shift or one moment to the next, your team will always be doing the right thing at the right time, the right way. So it's a really full circle solution for health, safety, security. Of course, we haven't talked much about security, and also building systems maintenance, if you will. And without getting too far out there, but think about building equipment, warranty claims, and so on and so forth. And somebody says, well, you didn't maintain it. You didn't when you should have. So your warranty claim is null and void. Well, wait a minute. Yes, we did. Here's the proof. Here's the evidence. So it's a full circle solution that covers a vast amount of your enterprise, your company, or organization, really.
Absolutely. Oops. So how does Command Center work? So it's really quite simple. So it actually works on the concept of work plans. You can have any number of work plans that you want. For example, at Carleton University for fire extinguishers specifically, they have 52 work plans, monthly work plans for their fire extinguishers, one per building. Every fire extinguisher is included within that work plan for the building that's in the building. And that's where we associate. So we got one work item per fire extinguisher, and that's where we associate the NFC tag. So our procedures are directly linked to the specific asset in question. There is no confusion as to which fire extinguisher we were talking about. And then any work item can have any number of questions or tasks that need to be completed as part of that. Our solution supports the collection of over 27 different types of data. And that the answers to your data are automatically actioned, so that as soon as something fails, for example, if something doesn't pass, or the boiler's not performing at the correct temperature, people are notified in real time, so we can take immediate corrective action and change things up. So, Richard, you want to talk to this, or?
No, I think we covered this. The AED is still in the top right. Yep. So by now, of course, we've got Zendelity, the command center, working. So all of these areas that you see are all being addressed, all being checked, all being maintained as they should be. There's proof, clear evidence that that's happened. New people are brought on board and they know what to do, so they can go to an eye wash station, even though they might never have seen one in their life. And they can go to it and they're told exactly what to do. So to me, this is almost like stepping back from the earlier slide that looks like that and saying we've addressed all these issues, all these opportunities, if you will, with our command center.
Absolutely. And these are just some of the examples. You know, I like to say, you know, we're really limited by your imagination. If you need a safety check done on anything, you know, or a standard operating procedure, we can do it. So, but for the purpose of today, I was going to show you the AED defibrillator example. But you know, afterwards during Q&A, if you want to see any of the other examples that you might be interested in, you know, we can show you any one of these, but of course this is not, we're not limited to this. So with that, I'm just gonna, if you'll just give me just a moment, I'll pull up our demo. Oops. There we go. So this is Command Center. So this is on the left-hand side, this is our management portal. This is where we define all of our work plans associated with our buildings within our facility, where we can monitor in real time our progress and how we're doing, and where we manage any issues that arise as part of our solution. So, you know, I know we've only got a limited time, but if I were to go in, and today I'm going to do my work plan. So the example that we're going to give is our AED. So these are all work plans that have been assigned to me. We can assign them based on any schedule required, daily, weekly, monthly, annually, whatever your specific dates, whatever is required. So in the case of the AED, I can search in and I can find my AED to make it easy to open. Oh, I'm gonna have to, sorry, I have a demo board and I've left it over at the wrong side. Oh, what's going on? No, I just messed that up. I shouldn't have done it. Sorry. Watch.
So there's always, you know, a few things like this in a demonstration. In real time, this is very simple to deal with, and we'll get to that in a moment.
I apologize. I think it's got something to do with my sharing. This sharing application that I'm using seems to cause me issues. I've just been informed that Microsoft has, Apple has introduced a new feature that we can share our application on the desktop.
So
Oh, there it is. Sorry about that, everybody. There you go. I think it is. I just proved myself correct. It just opened. So I'll just set that up for 2 seconds. Okay, oops. So
it's a good illustration of how things can change in real time. So here Rebecca was ready to move on, and here Apple has gone ahead and changed something. So just like your people at work, you know, they get to do something and whoops, there's an update, and in real time they're looking at it. It tells them how to deal with it. So in this instance, poor Rebecca has not received an email from Apple telling her, Rebecca, this is what you have to do.
Sorry, I apologize. I apologize. So in this case, so I've opened up my AED fire extinguisher, or my AED work plan. So in this case, I've only done one work item to keep it simple for everybody. But if I had, so for example, we were just talking to someone, they had 36 AEDs within their campus. So they would have 36 work items here. They could open them up. I can go so you'd have all of your work items. I can simply open it up. You can see that it shows exactly where in the campus that we need to go. And then I simply follow the tasks at hand. So in this case, and I think this is one of the beautiful things, is you don't have to conform your operation to our business. you have to we conform to yourselves. So you use the language and the terminology that your people are currently using today. We've simply digitally transformed it. So there's nothing new. So in this case, we say, is the green mark illuminated? Yes, it is. Is the safety tag broken? In this case, the safety tag is broken. So we're going to say yes. And what you'll see is creates an X, but you'll also see on my real-time dashboard that I, as management, would be notified in real time exactly as to what happened. But the alarm works. So now I'm done. And then as soon as I'm done, I scan it off the system, and you work through all of the AEDs. And then once you're done, it would be complete. All of that data is maintained within the system itself. I can go through now when the inspector arrives and they want to see all your AED inspections. I don't need to go searching through binders or to find information. I simply come in here, I find the AED or whatever work plan that I want to do. I can change the date, time, horizon of which I want to generate, and that report is all automatically created. So I can see exactly, I've got access to all the historical information. It's audit proof. There's no way you can go in and anyone can change the data. So you can be confident of exactly what information was captured in that time. And of course, you can download it in Excel if you're interested. Any issues that are identified are captured within the application itself, as well as, and you can communicate back and forth. Right, so I can see that I've opened, I failed the AED a few times today. You can see what it was and what the results, and I can also, from a user perspective, also go in and see exactly what's going on within any of the examples. So I can see what the issue was, it was created, what the timeline was on those issues, and I can provide updates to the team on, called for help. And our systems are automatically updated. And I think that that's what makes it distinct when you look at, a lot of other health and safety software, or our current processes. We go out and we collect all this data. I was talking to a prospect, they spend an hour a day collecting the data on their maintenance or in their, on all their equipment for their building. They've got 17 pieces of equipment, boilers, water softener, all those things. They collect 47 different data points. And when I said to them, what do they do with that data? Where do they go? How is it used? It's kept in a binder. We don't know if it was actioned. We don't know if the information captured should have been actioned. And if the individual who captured the data isn't an expert, going back to our pool numbers, if I'm not an expert on what my pH level's done, I might have collected the data, but that issue may still go unrecognized or unreported due to that. So that's, from a simplicity perspective, again, our goal is to help save you time. Our goal is to make sure that the right people are in the right place at the right time, that they're following the right procedures. We're not worried about version control. We're not worried that Johnny's still using, the operating procedures from 3 months ago because he hasn't gone and uploaded or downloaded the new version. All of that is done in real time, is accessible, is at our fingertips. And, you don't have to do reporting and run reports and pull data. All of that data is, again, at your fingertips. So, hopefully at the end of the day, you can save time, maybe focus on some of those other things on your to-do list that you never get to because we're so busy completing paperwork and reporting on issues and the like, and we can put that time to more value-added ways that we can bring value to the facility and to the people that we serve. So, and I should say, and you can also get notified you can get notified via SMS or email in real time again. Right, so it's one thing to collect the data, but based on your own business rules, if my pH level is out of 7.2 to 7.6, then I want to receive an automatic notification so I can take immediate corrective action. I don't need to wait for someone to open up the binder to look through the information and identify the risks. So with that, as it says, at the end of the day, we believe that, organizations, facilities are in the people business, and standard operating procedures is what keeps our people protected and safe. And at the end of the day, our goal is to really help you protect your people and make it easier to do so on a day in, day out basis. Oh,
So I just had a screen pop up here. So here we go here. So when you review what we spoke about, and we can send you a copy of this presentation, of course, we just ask you that, what if that whole world of health and safety, compliance, checking on equipment, checking on security, checking on systems can be made easier, better, faster, more efficient, and give you much better, if you will, confidence. Let us know. We really want to have that second conversation, and that's really what's important. There's a lot more to know. You know about us. We want to know about you. Rebecca?
yeah, I was absolutely. I know we're running out of time. I don't know if anybody has any questions that they'd like to hop on and ask. We welcome any additional questions as we're going. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, there's some questions. So where's the data stored? Perfect, Nick. I can answer any questions you have afterwards. But where's the data stored? So the data is, we are built on Microsoft Azure. Our data is stored in the cloud, and we leverage Microsoft security. So your data is updated every 15 minutes, every hour, and then every day. So you can be confident that your data will be there and available when it's required. Great question, Corey. Thank you. Any other questions? So if we're all out of questions, I just would like to take this opportunity to, thank Richard for guiding us through today's discussion. And again, as Richard said, our goal is to have a conversation and to learn from your experience and learn where your challenges are, and see if there's an opportunity to really give you 101% confidence in your safety protocols. We believe that is a possibility, and that we can help you do so successfully, efficiently. And so we would welcome those discussions moving forward.
And by the way, I choose the word conversation versus sales pitch. None of this is about a sales pitch. All of this is about you, your company, your challenges, and how working together, our solution can make your life easier. So that's much more of a conversation, isn't it? Where we both understand each other, what we bring, and boom, and put it together for a nice solution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're looking to build partnerships. So with that, I'm going to thank everybody for your time. We're at the top of the hour, and I really enjoyed today's conversation. I hope you did as well, and I look forward to chatting and learning more.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.